Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Michael McDowd, Mike McDowd, Mike McDude McDowd, and Russell Johnson. Not sure if he's going to make it today. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a trivia question. We do have a special guest coming on in the next segment who has been on the show before. Michael, who's going to be our guest coming on?
Well, first of all, listen, perfect guess, perfect topic, perfect timing, and perfect event coming up. Super Bowl is just around the corner. Our special guest is the one and only. I'm not even. This is just a minor kind of build up for our guest, the great Jamie Williams, aka Dr. Jamie Williams. Played for the 49ers, among one of the teams he played for. And man, we're going to talk about him. Not only is he a 49er, he's a Super Bowl world champion. So he's got the experience, the know-how. He's going to break it down. He's going to shake it down, and we're going to have some fun.
Definitely gonna have some fun. And yeah, one of the questions I want to ask Jamie when he comes on in the next segment is how the role of the tight end has changed since Jamie played, because it seems like it's changed quite a bit. And I heard that there was a little article in the San Francisco Bay Area magazine, because they're being played in Levi, Stadium. Guess how much some rentals that are like high end? What's the most they're getting for a week for a rental in a high end place in San Francisco Bay Area? Take a guess.
Rental? Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go. 40,000.
$500,000
Wow.
for a week.
I'm way off.
I was gonna say I'll rent my place
Way
out.
off.
I'll rent it out for 2 weeks for that. All right, audience, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're gonna be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with Mike McDowd. Mike, please introduce our special guest, who's very special because not only was he a football player, but he is quite the intelligence aficionado, as we were talking about Socrates and Plato and other.
Yeah.
And
I
don't
would
forget
say,
Xenophon. You keep leaving out Xenophon.
Don't forget about with an X.
I'll use this word. I mean, I'm going to say the truly incomparable. He's a one-of-a-kind guy. Last time he was on, I called him a Renaissance man, but he's more than that. What I like about our guest, Dr. Jamie Williams, former San Francisco 49ers. He's never a former 49er. You're always a 49er, I guess, Jamie. And, the one thing about getting to know you a little bit, when Jamie and I met back when he was the athletic director of the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. But the one thing is evident when I was behind the desk when he was the man, and I'm sitting here on the other side looking at him having the conversation, he was great. We've talked on the phone. We've been on the show. He's a real guy. I mean, he's a genuine guy, and I think, Jamie, that comes across so beautifully. You played the NFL. You could be all high and mighty and this and that, but you're a regular guy, and I mean that in the best compliment possible. So we love having you on the show. Welcome.
That is a great compliment, and I tell people I'm just a farm boy from Iowa trying to make his way through the universe. You know what I'm saying? Learning as I go. And but then, I run into a guy, Mac Dude, and that's my deal. I like to deal with dudes, right? And then we got E Brown here. I mean, chilling up in San Rafael. It's you guys are homeboys, man, and I appreciate that. And anytime you have a platform to kind of inspire somebody, you wanna do that.
It's funny. I still remember. I hardly, for some reason, I don't remember why I was watching this, but I think it was the night before you guys won the Super Bowl, and it was in New Orleans, and the camera was on you, and someone, I guess you were either showing people around, or they were just checking things out, going, okay, so we got Jamie Williams here, and you had your dreadlocks at the time, and it was very entertaining. You're just having a lot of fun, and then you seem very relaxed. And at that point, I go, yeah, of course the 49ers are going to win that game. But I don't remember which Super Bowl was that. Was that against Denver?
Super Bowl 20. It was against Denver. It was Super Bowl 24, I believe. And it was interesting because probably a rare experience of going in at halftime knowing you're going to get a ring. You know what I'm saying? Because you're like, they can't climb out of the ditch we just threw them in. And it was interesting. Again, I was really sheltered, from a Midwest perspective until I left the University of Nebraska and got into the big city. So everything for me was sponging and watching, observing, and experiencing. I had no big city background, but I was well read. So I was really into things. I remember Warren Moon, who I talked to last week for about an hour. We were still very tight, and Warren's like, we were talking about the time when we played the Eagles. It was my first time to Philly, and they were talking Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, and I was talking, we got to go see the Liberty Bell, and they thought I was nuts. But by the time the plane landed, Warren's like, "Are you still going to see the Liberty Bell?" And so he went with me. It was pretty cool.
Well,
So it is a journey. This whole deal with these young people going in and getting to the level of the Super Bowl is bananas, because you cannot do that without having some luck on your side. I don't know a team that's gone undefeated or had a high schedule where there weren't games that they could have lost.
Well, yeah, and Jamie, bring it home a little bit more, because you mentioned it beautifully. Here you are, a kid from Davenport, Iowa. You're a Midwest grass-fed, big dude, and you go to you go to the neighboring state, the University of Nebraska, to play Cornhusker football, which at the time was the best of the best. It's
Yes.
the Indiana of today.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And just so you know,
Absolutely.
I always rooted for Nebraska against Oklahoma. Just so you know.
Well, that was part of the reason I went to Nebraska, was that they play Oklahoma every year around Thanksgiving. And I grew up watching those games, and I was like, man, I get to participate in that. And then also they were automatically, if they won the conference, goes to the Orange Bowl. And I was born in Florida. So I was like, man, yes, I'll sign.
In fact, wasn't it 1971? They said the great now back then, the greatest game ever played was Nebraska.
Well,
versus,
that was with Johnny Rogers in Oklahoma, and it was a crazy game. I remember watching that live as a kid.
Yeah.
And I didn't know we had a bunch of great athletes in the Quad Cities, but man, Johnny Rogers, what he was able to do is like, is this dude human? Now going to that, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna make this announcement because I just got news. Well, I had news of it before, but it kind of officially came out today that my Davenport neighbor, classmate, high school, college roommate, and 49er teammate Roger Craig is going into the college. I mean, not the college, in the Canton Hall of Fame, NFL. So I'm so happy for him. I can't hardly contain myself. It's because I knew him as shoot, in first grade. You know what I'm saying? And in junior high, and it wasn't an easy path for him because there were great athletes in the Quad Cities at that time, and he really had to work, and he never gave up that work ethic, and he definitely deserves the accolades and the honor.
That's amazing. The two of you grow up together and eventually play on the same team. That's
not only that. Then and I got to give you a compliment, Jamie. Not only did you guys grow up, here you come from Davenport, Iowa. You're a multiple sport high school athlete, and then we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to your heart. But you and Roger Craig are probably some of the two best looking dudes there ever was. So what's the real deal when you two got together? It must have been double trouble, man, in San Francisco. Can you tell any family stories?
Oh my God, a little bit. So first, I'll tell you a quick story. So So he was, Hayden Fry, who ended up at Iowa, the head coach, wasn't there when I was getting recruited. They had another guy that couldn't win, and so I go to Nebraska, even though I wanted to play basketball at Iowa. I mean, they were recruiting me for hoops, and but I knew football is what I was really good at as well. And so I go to Nebraska, and then Roger was a year behind me. And so Roger's getting recruited, calls me up, and he said, I don't know, Jamie. I mean, they're really pushing with me on Iowa, families down the street. And I go, okay, so Roger, I says, you got to think about this. Okay, you go to Iowa. I said, who blocked for you in elementary? Who blocked for you in junior high? Who blocked for you in high school when we were undefeated? So who's going to block for you there? And he said, he pauses, goes, you got a good point. He ended up coming to Nebraska, which was awesome.
Correct.
But then fast forward, we're done with, and I redshirted my freshman year. I was that first class that you could redshirt freshmen, and so then Roger and I ended up finishing together, and they wanted to redshirt him, but he got a couple guys in front of him got hurt, and so we ended up having to play. And they said, "Hey man, this dude is ready to go." Right. So we go to the.
Okay. Can you finish that story in just a second? We got to cut to a quick break here. First
Sure.
trivia question. Again, if you know the answer, don't say anything quite yet until we get right back from the break. Which car company owns the luxury brand Lamborghini? Which car company owns the luxury brand Lamborghini? I hope they haven't sold it, because then the answer would be wrong. All right, audience, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Mike McDowell and our special guest, Jamie Williams, I hate using the word former 49er, but you're not playing right now, so we'd say former tight end for the 49ers during their Super Bowl runs, when they won them. Sorry, they haven't won them for a while here.
Jesus.
Trivia question. Which car company owns the luxury brand Lamborghini?
Jamie?
Okay, I'll give a guess. I would say Fiat.
That would have been a good guess, but that's not right. But go ahead, Mike.
Okay.
Hyundai?
No, it's Volkswagen.
That was a joke. I said Hyundai. What?
Yeah, Volkswagen.
Oh, wow.
I know.
I didn't know that. I never knew that.
So I wasn't far off when I said Hyundai. I mean,
I knew Fiat. I knew Fiat was putting out Formula One cars, so I figured they'd do something fancy like that.
Did you guys see that movie Formula One with Brad Pitt? Did you guys see that movie?
I haven't seen it yet. Is it?
Is that good or is that good? Especially I saw it in the theater. I don't normally go to the theater very much, but in the theater, the roar, the sound, Jamie, that's a great movie. You got to see that movie.
I did see Ford versus Ferrari. I did see that one. That was pretty good. Maybe hey, just for fun, I'm going to tell you a cute joke of the week. Okay, you ready? So, did you know that my wife worships me? She puts burnt offerings in front of me every night.
Oh, jeez.
That's just
where's that come from?
My wife is an excellent cook.
Is that some social media stuff? What was that? Hey, listen. Let me finish that Roger story, because I think you guys will like it because it's authentic. And I always believe that you got to be able to, when you go where the cameras don't go, that's when you get the real, the real football stuff, right? And so Roger and I are both playing in the Hula Bowl All-Star game after we finished at Nebraska, and our two running mates are Eric Dickerson and Dan Marino. And so you were talking about, looking good and being cool and stuff. And so we're bar hopping all over Honolulu, and we're doing okay, right? So me and Raj, right? We're doing okay. And so at the end of the night, Dan Marino goes, "Hey, Dick, ask him." And Dickerson said, "No, man, you ask him. You brought it up. No, you ask him." So they go back and forth, and I says, "Hey, man, no, what's up? What do you need to know?" And they're like, "Wait, you guys didn't grow up in the big city, but how did you get in Iowa? I mean, they actually got black people in Iowa?" They were dead serious. And we must have laughed 15 minutes, man. And so it was like, they thought we were like city dudes. And we're like, no, No, we ride horses and we get tadpoles and fish for work. I mean, and fish in the Great River.
We
So
just had
so it was
sophisticated.
interesting that they were city boys and they just couldn't understand how we could be COOL.
Yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
They
Yeah,
couldn't get their arms around it.
I always
Because
felt
we
for
were having a little bit better luck than they were.
oh, that's
so
funny.
so
I always
I'll
felt
let you
for Ben,
read between the lines on
you
that
know,
one.
'cause he was such a good quarterback, and he just could never win the big one. Well, especially against the 49ers. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
No. I mean, so listen, it's Super Bowl week, Jamie. I don't like to ask you the typical questions, but it is a Super
Sure.
Bowl, and you are the man. Because listen, you're the phew, 0.05%. I mean, how many people win a Super Bowl? It's less than that's not even 1%. So
No
you
question.
have this unique experience that pretty much none of us have. Take us through what it is like. I guess two perspectives: a, the actual game week preparation, and then maybe that take us through the walk, what it is like to go as a player and then a player who's retired, because you got to have different perspectives and takes on it, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're a player and you're going through it, it's very surreal. I mean, you have games you play in big places, but everybody in the world stops, for the Super Bowl. And you have all kinds of celebrities, people you saw on TV, people you hope to meet one day, and they're all just walking by and they have you on the stage. I mean, you're the rock star. And it's a very crazy experience and for the key for coaches is to keep them focused on the prize at hand. And so it gets stuff. They want you to have fun, but yet, when it comes down to the game, you got to get dead serious. And the Niners are pretty good at that, especially if you go back and look at their little special they got on their history that's on
Yeah.
AMC. It's very good. I know all those guys, and of course, I was very fortunate to be one of the crewmen on the ship, as it sailed, right? Because those guys, Roger got drafted there. So I came there as a free agent. And the great Bill Walsh, brought me in. I mean, he's the one who recruited me there, which was awesome, basically, to hear him talk and then for me to interview him for my master thesis and my doctoral dissertation. He was such an academic, such a forward thinker, and he kind of injected that into his players as well, you know. And it was just a very special place. So the Niners handled it really well, I thought, in terms of going to the Super Bowl and keep going to the Super Bowl with that regime. Um, Now, in terms of afterwards, when you retire and you walk away from the game, you start doing other things. Um, I was just telling my wife, I said, it's hard for me to believe I actually played that game. You know, I'm watching guys flying around, knocking each other down and going through
Mm.
all, I mean, near misses. And it's like, wow, I used to be in the middle of that. And as a tight end, I was definitely in the middle of it.
But when the interesting thing is, when you played, it wasn't powder puff. I mean, I'm not trying to diss the game today, but just to make it really simple, right? There's so much protection of players, which there should be. And there's so many flags, right? I mean, you look back at when you were playing, it's like, hey, all gloves are off in a way. You get tackled and
You're
you
either
still
going to be the hammer or you're going to be the nail. And it was very, very raw. And they said, if you go down the middle and you catch the ball, you better ball up. You better turn into a ball. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because the heat's coming. Because there's no
yeah,
targeting pill. And the quarterbacks, man, they were getting slammed, one or
yeah,
two counts after the play's over. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
And I had to deal with it, right? So
Yeah,
it is a little rougher now. I do know that when I look at the game now and the way I played, if 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 I had that type of game they have now with the free releases as a receiver and the defense can't do much to you, I'd have
yeah,
played 20 years instead of 12 years. And so it was amazing because now you see tight ends just run down the field free. And all
yeah,
they got to do is get up, catch the ball, right? Back
yeah,
then, man, you're getting molested trying to get out, coming out of the line, you know.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and there was some great tight ends during my era,
That's
amazing tight ends.
yeah. 12 years though. I
mean,
mean, that's a long time. That's still, especially, I mean, specifically in football, the average is only like 3.5 years. I don't know. How long is the average player play who's a tight end though? I don't know the.
That's very interesting because to me the tight has always been kind of the Navy SEAL of the offense, and you can say that about the linebacker on defense.
Yeah.
And so there's certain special qualities you have to have sustainability as a player there. You can catch a few balls, boom, boom, then you get hit, and then you can't block anybody, right? Or you can block some people, but they can't throw the ball to you. So it's but you can play if you got the two qualities. You can go in the trenches and you can catch the ball consistently to move the chains. You can play a long time as a tight end, but you have to be tenacious. You have to be, or yeah,
yeah.
they'll
Well,
run you out.
the perfect segue for you on that one is uh, what I have found out about you is that, of course, I know because I met you behind the desk. You ran the athlete. You're a doctor. You got your PhD, but um, you're very you're really you're an academic. But here's the deal with you is I think really cool. Speaking of relating to people, you are a how do I say comic book aficionado, and you love the comics. Okay, where am I going with this one? So you just said it. You're a Navy SEAL, but you took on characters as a tight end. Who was the character that you embodied the most? Was it the Hulk? Was it Spider-Man? Was it Batman? Superman? Who was it?
Oh, it was definitely a web slinger. Definitely Spider-Man. I actually got an email about that today, or I mean a text about that today. But yeah, definitely. I am. Comic books one helped me increase my imagination, creativity growing up, and then since for good, I was really into it. I would really go into it, and that led me to reading novels, and I continue to read comic books just because when you go into a game, you got to go into your alter ego. You have to do that because, you don't want to go on a date or something afterwards and you're still, that crazy dude on the field. So you had to be able to code change in a way, right? And if you know Spider-Man, Peter Parker, if he takes his mask off, he's just trying to hold on to a job and keep, Mary Jane happy. But when he puts that mask on,
We all
he's the crime fighter.
That's it.
You
And
know,
which is
Jay.
interesting. Oh, hold on. Our second trivia question is kind of almost related to this.
Uh,
Excuse me. Which classic video game, okay, not exactly comics, but which classic video game requires you to rescue Princess Peach?
what?
Oh boy.
I mean,
Oh boy.
you will have heard. This is not something that you guys would go. I've never even heard of this. You'll have heard of it. Stay with us. Sports Econ
Huh.
101. Be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown. Not last time, one more time, because the next time's the last time. Edward Brown here, along with Mike McDowell, our special guest, Jamie Williams. Second trivia question: which classic video game requires you to rescue Princess Peach?
Oh boy.
It's
I
a
mean,
very popular one. I think it may be the most popular video game.
That's
dragons
correct.
and whatever,
Correct.
Dungeons and Dragons. I don't
No,
know.
no. Let's say Super Mario Brothers.
Okay, all
Oh,
right,
that makes sense.
all right.
I was going
Yeah.
to say Sonic Hedgehog, but I don't know the story.
Jamie, of course, our special guest, Jamie Williams, Dr. Jamie Williams. So happy to have you coast to coast, border to border, and around the world with our U.S. military right here on this great show. And Jamie, I really think we just talked about your love of cartoons and comics. And I truly believe that you would have, and you probably still could do it today in some fashion, but could you imagine wearing that 49ers uniform and underneath was a Spider-Man uniform? So, in other words, you take the thing off like, hey, Jamie, really, Spider-Man is Jamie Williams and Jamie Williams is Spider-Man. So, could you imagine the marketing dollars that you could go
Oh,
for?
today it would be
Oh,
crazy
man.
because it got crazy when I came out with that when I was with the Oilers. But both at the Niners and the Oilers, I did wear a Spider-Man T-shirt underneath, my pads. So I always did that. And one quick one when I was with the was I with the Niners? Oh man, I can't remember if I was with the Niners or the Oilers, but we're playing in New York, the Giants, and I was there. These guys told me to come out early. You got to come on, you got to come out. I was like, man, I don't go out this early. No, but just come out this time. Do it this time. So I go out, and there's a guy dressed in a Spider-Man costume, and he was sent by Stan Lee, the great Stan Lee, and he gives me an autographed picture of
Mm.
Stan Lee. I mean, from Stan Lee, and we do a photo op, right? And
Wow.
and they give me a comic book that he put me in the comic book as
Really?
yes, I had the dread. No, I had the dreads, and at the end of the episode where after Peter Parker took care of the bad guy, he's calling Mary Jane. He's sitting on his couch and he's talking to Mary Jane. He said, I can't hang out tonight. I'm hanging out with my friend Jamie Williams. And then there's a picture of me on animated or cartoon TV with my dreads. And I was like,
Wow,
this is too good. This is
that's
too good.
great. I guess he just knew that you were a big Spider-Man aficionado. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I did that. I did this deal where they had me transform into Spider-Man on HBO when they did the Inside the NFL, and so Stan Lee jumped on it, and it was a cool deal. The guys loved it. They absolutely loved it.
Well, but Jamie, the fact of the matter is, you've always been cool. I mean, you're a trailblazer, a pioneer. You have all these adjectives to describe what I'm about to say next. I know you've never been asked this before, and I'm full of you know what, but you were the first guy in the NFL to wear dreadlocks. I'm pretty sure of
That,
that.
that,
Is this
no,
true?
that is correct. That is correct. That
Yeah,
is correct.
yeah.
Now, you guys are cool dudes. We're pretty much the same generation, and we
Yeah.
could, we didn't have social media, we didn't have camera phones, we didn't have all of that,
No.
texting, but we had imagination and we had creativity, and that's what separated, in my opinion. And I was down in Jamaica with Warren. He invited me to go down because the NFL was doing something. I go down there, and we met some Rastafarian guys, and they just was all enamored with me because I was all buffed up because it was 2 weeks before training camp. And they was like, dude, what do you do? What do you eat? What do you eat? And they said, oh, the dreads, they would look good on you. You should do it. You should do it, man. And I was like, okay, I'll see if I can do this. And at the same time, you talked about Spider-Man, but one of my other big comic book heroes was Conan the Barbarian.
Oh,
So that's part of the dreads. I do the dreads so that, I look barbarian, right? And
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
would go to other teams and I'd take my helmet off right by the linebackers and stand there right by them and doing pregame. And so those dudes would not even look at me because they never seen that. They didn't know if I was Samoan,
Yeah.
Jamaican,
Yeah.
from the University of Mars, like Otis Sistrom.
Yes.
They didn't know what I was.
Did you get teased at all about it, or what kind of
Um,
reaction? Yeah.
Yeah, the fans loved to get involved in anything. Obviously the hometown crowd loved it. And then when I go to other places, they were always yelling, you know, get drug test, Williams, give him a drug test now. They would do all this stuff.
I
And
can
then when I
picture
cut the dreads, when
rights,
I cut them, I'd go to the same place and they're like, Williams, you're a sellout. You sold out to the man. Where are the dreads? You can't win. But
Yeah.
yeah, so anyway.
Jamie, I was a sportscaster near LA, and I was doing a sports talk show. And I read a story. Oh, Jamie Williams, and I remember this comment. And I'm like, well, that's kind of an asinine thing to say. And I don't know, you probably know about it, but Jerry Glanville commented about your dreads one time. Do you remember what he
Yeah.
said? Man, it was like, I said,
I,
Coach,
I,
you got to be kidding me.
I don't remember him saying anything negative. I think people may have taken it, but he loved it. And he said the
Yeah,
NFL, and here's a true story. The NFL was drug testing me. They were drug testing me, uh, without consent. You only do so because I had dreads. They didn't know what was going on, man. If I'm a drug dealer, what's going on? And then at the same time, I was doing promotional talks for the DEA in Texas. And these guys are drug testing me. I'm like, man, I don't do that stuff. This is to be cool on the dance floor. And Glanville told the NFL to stop drug testing me and says, oh, we don't care what his hair like, as long as he does what he's doing on the field, we're good. So it's interesting. Again, it's folklore, it's myth. It's all those things that make people do things because they can't figure it out and they're too afraid to go up and ask why or
yeah,
give me some
Yes,
yeah.
I
insight.
heard that having dreadlocks it gives you a positive result on the drug testing.
Exactly. It was so
No,
fun. I said they can drug test me every week. I don't care. It doesn't bother me now because that's not my area, you
Yeah,
know. Uh, but
that's
I was
funny.
yeah.
I was cool on the dance floor though.
Well, that's all. That's all that
You
really
guys
matters,
remember the
Jim. That's
dance
all. That's
floor?
all that really matters. You had all the right moves. Any given Sunday, you wrote. Of
Yeah.
course, you were part of that film, but I want to get to that. But it is a Super Bowl, and I think it's very important to talk about this. And I told you when we
Hmm.
spoke off the air, so I'm going to bring up a topic that I think you're going to probably chime in now. Oh, by the way, the Seattle, the Seahawks and the Patriots are playing in the Super Bowl. But we're going to fast forward all that stuff. Here's the deal. Where's this game being played? The Bay Area, San Francisco, Santa Clara, whatever. The San Francisco Bay Area is probably one of the greatest music scenes in the history of mankind. So where am I going with this? The halftime show is going to be with some dude named Bad Bunny. Okay, Bad Bunny, which is really controversial. Everybody's talking about it. No, why am I talking about this? Well, I think us three, we don't care about Bad Bunny. I know a lot of young people don't care about Bad Bunny. But let me get to the point. This is the 60th Super Bowl, and they
Yeah,
had the 50th 10 years ago. Why don't they have like incredible, unreal bands like Santana, Journey, the Grateful Dead, Starship, Huey Lewis. I mean, the list goes on.
Tower
The
of Power.
Tubes, all these great bands. It would be called the Sound of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Am I losing something here? Is common sense out the window? The most iconic sound of the history of rock and roll, and you're not embracing it. Any thoughts on that?
Hmm.
Yeah. I see where you're going with that, and I would say this, and you're absolutely right about the musicians in the Bay Area historically. And I've got a chance to meet a bunch of them, became great friends with Huey Lewis, and this guy and his news, and
Yeah.
there's great history there. I think the deal is those guys are older than me, right? And so sometimes to get them to come and excite, because you got to remember, uh, the NFL is one of the biggest marketers in the world, right? It's all about the
Yeah.
brand, right? And so I'm going to use a topic of one of my midterms when I was getting my master's. And the question was, does society follow art or does art follow society? And I was one of the only people in the class to get it right. And the answer is both. And so we got a lot of stuff going on, politically, immigration, all kinds of stuff going on, man. That's in the news. And then you got this, I've never heard of Bad Bunny song. I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not the young people, right? I'm not that. I'm old school. But I know how they market, right? And if there's an interest there and they could drive up, people to watch this, that's the key, right? Now they may have some of those bands that we know and love, you know, at parties, during the week next week, playing.
Uh,
You can still get some of your stuff going on there, but again, they need to have somebody that is kind of a lightning rod in a way. How they came up with it, I don't know. My daughter had to educate me on Bad Bunny, and I don't know. I'm an
well,
old school guy forever.
I hope he
You
shows up in
know,
a dress just to make it even that much more ridiculous.
Yeah,
and
I
then
just hope they don't. I just hope they play the game, let people enjoy themselves. Don't bring a lot of negative junk to it because we don't need that, man.
Exactly.
We're supposed to be the greatest country on the planet, so show up and be that, and stop, separating people.
Yeah, and then the greatest music on the planet. And I don't. I mean, no matter how you look at it, I mean,
Greatest music on
truly,
the planet. Bingo.
yeah,
Mac
true,
Dude,
true.
you're on, man.
Rock, but the greatest rock and roll era, but it definitely, hails from the Bay Area. I mean, and some people could argue it, but I just think it would be a really nice, classy thing to do to honor the Bay Area where the Super Bowl is being held. But you articulated it beautifully, and probably can't say any better than how you just
But
said it.
also like the
Well, thank you.
250th,
That's just my opinion. Say again.
it's the
What you say?
250th. It's the 250th anniversary of the country too this year. So I know they're gonna have all
Well,
kinds
you
of
got to
special.
remember this. That you bring up a good point, Mr. Brown. Is that our country is a baby, and
Yeah,
people forget that. We
yeah,
think we created history. We created monuments. We did. We did. We're a quarter of a millennia old. Man, you
yeah.
leave the country, you go into places that have been around, BC. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and and we have a lot to learn, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's why
And
we
you-
need to respect the classics.
Well, the interesting thing too about the United States is that I believe this is like the longest non-changed government in the last so many millennium. You have, I mean, I know like you have the Egyptians, you have so much there, but there was something specific about our republic. I'd have to look it up. I'm sorry, I don't have it
Well,
right
so
off.
we're kind of a hybrid, right? We're
Yeah,
builders like the Egyptians. We do have some philosophy. We've had great philosophy, great Mark Twain, all these kind of cats that came out of the U.S. as great thinkers, like the Greeks. And then we became a war machine like the Romans. And so
yeah,
all of our months are based on Roman stuff. So
yeah,
but still we still have a lot to learn. And like Desmond Tutu, the Archbishop Desmond Tutu told me, he said, "You guys have the best democratic democratic philosophy known to mankind."
Okay, and on
Right?
that note,
He said,
yes, we
"But
did.
you got to live up to it."
Okay, and on that note,
Yeah.
we're going to go to our last trivia question here. It's more of a riddle. I'm tall when I'm young, and I'm short when I'm old. What am I? Stay with us, Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mike McDowd and our special guest, Jamie Williams. Third trivia question. I'm talking fast because we only have so much time. I'm tall when I'm young, and I'm short when I'm old. What am I? Little
Oh,
riddle. A candle.
jeez,
A
got
candle.
it. That's
Oh,
pretty good.
I got you on
that's
this one.
Okay.
pretty
Okay.
intuitive. I like it.
Jamie, give us your predictions for Super Bowl. Seattle
Oh,
versus
yeah,
New England.
yes. I think now again, any given Sunday, right? That I think the Seahawks may have it because of the adversity of the Seattle's quarterback. The dude had to, he had to he got really steer. Those dudes are tough, hard. You got a young quarterback, May's a good quarterback, executes very well. But that Seattle defense, I mean, I watched what they did to the Niners. I'm like, Jesus. So
Yeah.
I think the older quarterback, and then Ohio State, they got that Ohio State receiver, can't pronounce his name, but he's unguardable. You know what I'm saying? You can't. He's
Yeah.
gonna get hits. So I'm leaning
And also,
towards
we have
Seattle.
to avenge what happened years ago when when New England pulled it out. Remember the interception that the Wilson threw right
Oh
to
yeah.
Butler? Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
yeah,
Oh
they
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
on their
Oh
shoulder
yeah.
for them.
Oh
Go
yeah.
ahead,
We got
Mike.
to have you on again, Jamie. We got to
Yeah.
have you on again to talk NIL,
Hey man,
Indiana college ball.
you guys are cool
All right.
breeze, man. So yeah, absolutely. You let me know. I'll come back. With you guys are deep thinkers, critical thinkers, man. As announcers,
I
you know what
had
I'm saying?
I
I
had
don't get that.
I had I had 6 years of high school. What do you expect? Okay, you ready? Here's my talk for the day.
I
Well,
had seven.
I combined a laxative with alphabet soup, I call it let her rip.
Oh boy, that's a little visual.
Okay, and last night I opened my water bill and my electric bill at the same time. I was shocked. All right, audience. Stay tuned.
We got to work
Audience.
on that. We got to work on that. We got to work on that a little bit.
Even next week, the Sports Econ 101, we're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best.
Good job, Jamie.
Next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. You guys are awesome.